The idea that we're going to send in offensive equipment and have planes and tanks and trains going in with American pilots and American crews, just understand, and don't kid yourself, no matter what you all say, that's called World War III.
The United States, together with our allies and partners, is going to begin training Ukrainian pilots in fourth-generation fighter aircraft, including F-16s, to strengthen Ukraine's Air Force as part of a long-term commitment to Ukraine's ability to defend itself.
Bunker sleazy Joe Biden has gone haywire on television. We've seen the videos of him wandering around lost. We even saw when he came to England for an important summit meeting, him attempting, apparently, to walk off a pier into the sea, saved only by his good wife, who turned him round and marched him back in a landward direction. We've seen him utterly unable to read out the words on his auto cues. We've seen him misspeak and misstate names, dates, and places, and even confuse his sister for his wife. But this week saw perhaps the worst of all Joe Bidens. Take a quick look at this.
The impact, what happened on July the 6th, had international repercussions beyond what I think any of you can fully understand. The impact, what happened on July the 6th, had international repercussions beyond what I think any of you can fully understand.
Well, I don't know if that's a Botox nightmare or whether it's a plastic surgery meltdown or whether it's some kind of stroke, but Joe Biden is in no fit state to run America, even less to run the world, even less to run a world at war. Joe Biden thinks that events in Washington happened not on January the 6th, but on July the 6th. And he thinks that it had international repercussions that none of us can understand, when in fact, in comparison to a weekday sojourn down the Champs-Élysées in France with a yellow vest on, it was a minor skirmish of people in buffalo hats and red Indian regalia trying to get through unlocked doors with the complicity of the security state, as is now becoming clear. Joe, it was January the 6th, not July the 6th, and it had no international ramifications at all. And whatever happened to your face? I'm not being unkind. I have said many times that this is elder abuse. His family, his party, his government is actually engaging in cruelty towards an elderly man no longer in control of his faculties or his bowels, as His Holiness the Pope found in the Vatican towards the end of last year. This is a man who sleeps with the nuclear football. He sleeps with a bag that contains the nuclear codes that could send thermonuclear intercontinental ballistic missiles into orbit, into action. He is the man that can bring humanity on this planet to a complete halt, a complete destruction of every living being and thing on this planet. Let's just hope he doesn't confuse the nuclear codes for his alarm clock. Let's just hope that stumbling in a hurry to get to his hourly visit to the lavatory, he doesn't trip over that nuclear football. This is a clear and present danger to the safety and peace of the world, never mind to the good governance of the United States of America. But even when he's not on screen, the things he's saying are increasingly unhinged. This week, he accused Iran of fueling the war in Ukraine because it is selling to Russia the drone technology that is being used in the war. But Joe Biden has sent $112 billion to fuel the war in Ukraine. Not only that, he sent Boris Johnson as his secret weapon to stop Zelensky from bringing the war to a close nearly 8 months ago. Joe Biden is the man who is fueling the war in Ukraine. It's Biden and America and NATO, not Iran, that are fueling the war. How come NATO is allowed to send hundreds of billions of dollars and euros of weapons into the war in Ukraine, but Iran cannot sell drones to one of the belligerents in that war in Ukraine? What's the thinking behind that? What's the logic when you decide to make a statement like that? Have you no self-awareness at all? Are you allowed to send any weapons to anybody, but other people are not allowed to send weapons to anybody? Russia and Iran are partners. They have mutual defense responsibilities. They have treaty obligations. They are close relations. Why would one not be allowed to give weapons to the other when you are allowed to give all the weapons that the military-industrial complex can produce? What's the thinking behind a statement like that? I'll tell you what the thinking is. Have you noticed, as I just have, that they have stopped talking about RTP? It's a while since you've heard it, so I'll refresh your memory. RTP was the doctrine devised by Tony Blair and Bill Clinton. What a couple, what a gruesome twosome. That they used, the doctrine that they used to attack Yugoslavia. They couldn't get an attack on Yugoslavia through the United Nations Security Council, so they invented a new set of rules, which they later called the Rules-Based International Order. You don't hear anything about that now either. The RTP stood for Right to Protect, by which any country had the right to arrogate to itself the right to protect any other people under attack or under threat of attack. That's the basis on which Britain and the United States and NATO got involved in the war in Yugoslavia, to protect people that they themselves defined as being in need of protection. Why don't they use that doctrine anymore? Because, of course, Russia would have the right to protect its co-religionists, its compatriots, its Russian-speaking people in the east of Ukraine. Indisputably, according to the Council of Europe, according to all of the international observers, under ceaseless attack from the regime in Kiev since 2014. 14,000 people were killed. Would Russia not have a right to protect them under the Clinton-Blair doctrine of RTP? Of course they would. And therefore, they stopped talking about it. The rules-based international order, ditto, because the rules-based international order includes the right to protect. In other words, to step outside of international law, outside of the UN Security Council, and take unilateral or bilateral or multilateral action wherever you decide that the rules you have devised are being broken. Now, of course, it's all going disastrously wrong. I've just seen the front page of The Economist. I can't bear to open it. But the front page of The Economist still maintains, on this day of all days, that Ukraine can win the war against Russia. On the day that a Russian private military company, the Wagner Group, defeated NATO in the city of Solidar and is now, right now, mopping up in the catacombs of that city, that ancient city of salt, has now fallen not to the Russian armed forces, they're not even fighting there, but to a Russian mercenary group of private military contractors. That's how badly the war is going for Ukraine and for NATO. And of course, with the fall of Solidar, ineluctably comes the fall of Bakhmut, another ancient city riddled with catacombs, underground tunnels, in which a fight to the death is this evening occurring. So much so that the head of the Ukrainian military has pleaded with President Zelensky to withdraw, if they can, from the kettle in which they are trapped in Bakhmut, for fear of losing thousands of their soldiers on top of the 100,000 according to von der Leyen, or more according to credible military sources, that they have already lost. And Zelensky has refused his own army chief's demand that the soldiers be withdrawn from the noose in which they currently are poised. And as somebody, I think Colonel McGregor, just pointed out on social media a few minutes ago, Zelensky will be lucky, long before the Russians come, if the armed forces of Ukraine don't deal with him, if his own generals don't deal with him, because while he is cavorting on the stage of the Golden Globes, they are dying in the most unimaginable horror. Don't look at the videos I've looked at. I beg you, don't look at these young Ukrainian men giving their lives for a coke-sniffing, cross-dressing, porn actor, billionaire, cavorting with his film star friends in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, at the Golden Globes.